Okay, Steve-O, are you there, mate?
I am, Mark. How are you?
Good, 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 good. Another week, and man, it's been an exciting week.
It has been a very busy week. It has been there's been so much stuff going on. You know, we have a tendency on these shows to kind of talk about things we've been involved with specifically, and both of us seem to be on working around ISV stuff this week for different purposes, and
very top of mind.
Like there's a lot of content around that to talk about.
Yeah, so true, so true. Who's with us? Let's see. Can we get a shout out? I actually don't have the stream up there to see who's joining us. I see. It's pretty sure Frank's with us.
Yeah, chime in on the live chat, please.
Yeah, let us know who's there.
We're gonna save the WhatsApp for when we're not on air, but let's use the live chat when we are.
Yeah, exactly. Now let me just check. I'm just taking a look here on the iPad for the stream so I can see those chats when they come up.
Up there. Yep,
Who you got? Who you got?
Hello. Patty Burns saying hello.
Awesome. Good to have Pat on.
All right, cool.
Okay, now I've got it up in my stream. I've got it muted. Okay, so anyhow, so as I say, been a nuts week. Do you know what I found living in New Zealand is that my days are just much longer.
Yeah.
Because I've got to work like European US time zone as well as New Zealand time zone.
Yeah, does that provide any time for sleep?
I think, we're talking before about Vlad, and, it's like, it's 1 a.m. and he's messaging, and, well, that's the way it is, right? It's like, I know when people are about, so.
Yeah, well, you knew that when you went back to New Zealand. You knew that would be one of the challenges, but, you had reasons to go beyond just time zone.
Yeah.
But it sounds like things are beautiful there. You were talking about the weather right now. It's just beautiful.
Amazing. I got all this nice natural light on me here.
Yeah, I need some of that, obviously, looking at my video. I just
definitely getting browner, I feel, at this time of the year.
I'm getting a little browner. I went to the beach this past weekend, just needed a getaway, needed a break. And it was a great weekend. So ran over to Clearwater Beach and just hung out there for Friday, Saturday. It was a couple of beautiful days.
Okay.
Got a little bit of sun. So what do we got on our sheet to talk about? I'm eager to get into some of our topics because we got so much juicy stuff
to cover, right? So app source first up, right? I've been heavily knee deep in app source for the last probably 2 months now. As we go live next week for the launch of this company. Now, interesting about this launch, as in if you guys that are listening that are interested or want to know, MS Dynamics World has got the exclusive launch announcement next Monday, as far as I know. So Jason Gumter on there has got the exclusive announcement of what we're doing. So
yeah, he did a podcast that'll be broadcasting then. So that's going to be something for people to tune into, and you'll get to hear all about what Mark's been working on for a while now.
Yeah. So he's got the interview with the CEO of the company and the founder of the company. That's not me. Right. I play a supporting role for this organization and the startup. So tune in. If you haven't gone over to MS Dynamics World, make sure you've signed up so you get notified of that, because let's just say the CEO and founder of this company is probably considered one of the most successful. No?
Yeah, I wouldn't give away too much.
There we go. You've stopped
me. But I would say that this will be an interesting case study because you have assisted quite a bit in advice and guidance, much of which I know has been taken.
Yep.
And if this ISV is as successful as I think it probably will be, well, there will be no questioning Mark's advice by anyone at all.
What I can't believe is just how exciting this whole process is. Like, it's crazy because there's no tangible benefits in the right now, but it's kind of like it's just been in the cut and thrust of making decisions on the fly, pivoting quickly, coming up with new ideas, taking feedback and applying it. It is just crazy fun.
It's the funnest part. It
Yeah.
really is. It's the funnest part, short of launching and seeing people appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
That really is the more fun part, because that also starts, filling the bank account.
Yeah.
It's interesting to go through this. And I think one of the challenges for SIs getting into the ISV space is having the bandwidth and being able to change their mindset from a services mindset to a, we're going to invest.
Yeah.
We're going to invest in something that no one is paying us for. No one has hired us to do. We're going to make our own decision based on our idea about an opportunity we see.
Yeah.
We're going to allocate our own resources, which they never do, to go build something and then launch it. It's such a new motion for SIs. And of course, you had the advantage here that this particular case, it isn't an SI, it was someone who really is focused on that app development side.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the challenges for SIs. They can look back and they can watch these things, and they're going to see this thing launched, they're going to see this thing be successful, and they're going to say, man, why can't I do that? And it's the mindset. It's a hard mindset to change.
Yeah. For me, right, is that, some would say I drink the Kool-Aid, I get in it, but I do try and maintain a level of objectivity with the Kool-Aid, right? And, I'm known to have called out, just like you, when we don't see kind of that objectiveness in what, Microsoft brings to us. But I am determined, right? I grew up in Dynamics, Microsoft CRM from back in 2003, been involved in that whole SI business for over 15 years, done my own startup SI company, boutique company, with magnetism in New Zealand, went to Australia, wanted to see if I could do something. What I did is a boutique at scale and built the largest undisputed CRM practice in Australia, right? Doing around 25 million a year just in CRM project work, starting from around an $800,000 base point. Now, I didn't do it alone, of course. We had a fantastic, amazing team. We had what was called a center of excellence in that business. And this guy called Shane Parsons he was, I'd say, a sales god, right? He knew how to go to not bullshit around in a sale, right? He would be able to find, is this customer kicking the tires? He would find it out early, not late. He would find out whether the person in front of us had the power to spend money, or the buying processes of the enterprise organization didn't give them the authority to do it. So it meant I learned these tactics to cut through. My role was to run the practice. I had 70 odd people in that team, and I had a number on me of, in that final year, I think it was around 24 million was the number I had to have delivered in practice work, as in through the CRM, and we did 25 in that final year that I was there with that company. Now, fast forward to now, right, is that I've also done a lot of little ISV things, particularly in magnetism, as part of the business, as part of the SI practice, right? It was stuff that we saw, hey, we could productize.
Yep.
I've read about AppSource. I've got deep in it, but I've never gone and followed the bouncing ball on the journey. And now we're here at this point, and I'm doing that. And it's an interesting journey, as in, I think there's room for improvement. But what I really want to do, my whole dialogue here is getting to the point and saying, the Power Platform is now our world, right? The Power Platform is it. It's the trajectory we're on. I am 100% confident that I can bet the home on it, right? That's where we're going. And so I want to see AppSource become absolutely fucking amazing. I want it to be the gold standard of being listed, of driving license sales for the ISV. So I don't look at it from a, can I find fault? I will point it out where I can see improvements can be made. But I am rooting for this to be the most successful thing, because I think if Microsoft can execute on this motion this time round, honestly, I'm talking tens of billions probably are going to come in through it. It's going to be at least a $10 billion business, the Power Platform, to Microsoft. And you hear figures that for every dollar spent on a license in Microsoft BizApp pulls through $3 of other Microsoft licenses and pulls through anything between $5 and $7 of service revenue to a partner. Mate, this is...
It's interesting listening to the excitement of someone new to this particular thing, of AppSource in particular, as someone listening to it as someone who's been in that space for a long time.
Tell me about it.
Written about it many times in the blog over the years. Went through the very early days of pain, continued to stay optimistic about its future, and it continued to let me down, continued to fail to live up to expectations many times. And I think I even publicly apologized in one of my blog posts if I encouraged anyone to go down the AppSource path because of my suggestion, because it just was not where it needed to be for so long.
Yeah.
It certainly is getting there. Now we're in an interesting time where Microsoft has finally realized that an AppSource full of shit is not positive. It doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
I still have not seen or gotten a good sense that we've had the purge yet, right? So there was. Do we
know how many apps are in the AppSource now?
I don't know how many, but taking a look in general, I'm not getting a sense that purge that we were promised has actually taken place. And by purge,
I know what you mean.
Everybody listening who doesn't know, is when AppSource first started, they had a pretty high bar. Pretty high bar to get in, and it was maybe too high, and it wasn't growing fast enough. So someone made the decision to lower the bar very low. Yeah. And they lowered the bar to a point to where, it filled up, but it filled up with a bunch of junk. And that wasn't good. And then the platform evolved, the product changed, updates were out there, and there were solutions in AppSource that would no longer even install on a customer's tenant. They wouldn't install on the modern application, but they continued to sit there, just like dead carcasses on the side of the road. Yeah. So you had this busy highway with a bunch of shitty old cars bumping into each other, and all these dead cars along either side. It was not a good place to be with a good app, because there was no way to really stand out in that shithole. So when Googs took over, and part of that whole motion was, we're going to clean up AppSource. Step one is, hey, everybody that's in there, you need to go update your solutions to work on the latest version of Dynamics. Yeah. And if you don't, we're going to unpublish. Well, the days came, the warnings came, warning, over and over and over. A whole bunch of ISVs didn't do anything, probably because they just doesn't care. They just gave up. It wasn't worth the effort to go in and even take the thing down. Yeah. In the meantime, AppSource continued to be this big source of garbage and shit for way too long. And I was one of those, along with you and others, hammering Microsoft that there is no point. I mean, this should have been done years ago, but the deadline is come and gone. The announced purge, if it's happened, it's happening very slowly, because I'm still seeing apps in there that I know that don't function and don't work and aren't updated. So I'm kind of torn. On the one hand, we talked a little bit about some of the challenges that you had with AppSource and them potentially making that easier. I don't mind the challenge. I don't mind it being a huge fucking pain in the ass to get an app in AppSource, because that means you're not going to go through it unless you really are committed. I mean, you go through, if there's no effort, if you could just go, I'll throw my crap up there, push button, publish, and it's up there. Well, that's what happened last time, and that's how we had a shit AppSource. So I'm all for it being a pain in the ass and a lot of effort and a lot of work to get in there. It should be. If it's going to generate a bunch of business for you and Microsoft, it shouldn't be something easy to do. So we'll see where that pans out.
Tell me, one of the experience I went through is connecting your listing through to your CRM, your own CRM that runs your business. There's two authentication models available in that. One authentication model is use Office 365, which is basically you're going to use a name and password of an account. The other is use Azure. and you create an Azure app, it creates a secret key, app ID. There's 3 different strings that you need to do to validate. You drop a solution into your own CRM system for the marketplace. You then have to create a user in there with the app ID associated back to that Azure environment. The beauty of one over the other is that every 90 days you need to renew the password if you use Office 365, but if you use the Azure one, set and forget type thing. And I was just like, the Azure connection.
So wait a minute, where are you getting this 90-day renewal of Office 365 password? Because we don't have that. That may be the way you've got something set up.
It says that when you go through it and go through the Microsoft Docs, it says you'll need to renew the password every 90 days if you use the Office 365 authentication. So you'll need to actually, not necessarily that the account changes, you need to re-enter it. We need to know that's still alive. So my concern was, I've seen many people, have contact us forms and stuff like that on the website and don't know that it hasn't been working for a month and going, why aren't we getting any leads? It's broken. There's been an update, there's been a patch or whatever. And the last thing I want to do is add a 90-day, listen, I need to remember to update that because I don't know if Microsoft's going to notify. So it's a bit more effort to do the Azure connection, but it's worth doing it in my opinion. Get it all validated up, give me the tick box. So now we'll inject those leads straight into my CRM.
Yeah, and I think it probably has, it's just another door back to CRM. I think that, there's a lot of ISVs out there, right? Not every one of them is a Microsoft Dynamics partner. You've got, companies out there like DocuSign and stuff like that. I don't know what they're using internally for their CRM, but it doesn't necessarily have to be Dynamics. So they've got a couple of different ways to get that lead information to you.
Yeah.
And since we are Dynamics users, it was simple enough for us just to use send it into Dynamics.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a new requirement or if that's something that isn't being enforced yet, but I don't recall us going in and changing our password on the account that we use for that.
There you go. Might be worth checking it out, right? Look at the doc on it. I mean, it's just top of mind because I did that bit of detail last night.
I'll definitely go look. I mean, frankly, that is a little onerous, not just from remembering to go change it, but that user in our system is doing other things as well, other than just that.
Totally. So for me, I decided
trickle down effect.
Yeah, and Frank has said there, Azure Apps definitely the more secure way to do it. I totally agree. It uses, a non-licensed role in CRM for how it handles it. Yep. But definitely, what I found is that going through the process of publishing your app is quite a pleasant, should I say, experience. Going through, right? You put your package in, you go through, you get all your marketing material, your various size logos and everything. My goal is to have the premier listing from a completeness point of view. All the videos loaded, all the images. Yeah.
Too late. I already got it. But you're right. I mean,
currently you've got it, mate. Currently, I'm coming after you.
I see a lot of apps up there where they basically did the minimum, right? They threw up a screenshot and put in a couple of blurbs of some sentence, and they're like, "Why is nobody buying this?" Well, you have it when you're listing in AppSource. AppSource is going to do your sales job, or it's not.
Yeah.
People are going to click through, look at something. They're not going to call you. They're not going to do anything unless that first sales job is done, and that's what those assets are there for.
Yeah.
And we use every single thing they make available. Every maximum word count, every word we can put in there, every video we can put up, every image we fill in every single thing on that deal. We've got everything as a test drive and a trial. Everything you could do in AppSource, we've flipped all those switches on.
It's good.
And I just see too many people that don't. I want to quickly address a question that came in from Patty about your app getting purged. What happens to its users? Actually, nothing, because these things are not related. AppSource today is a deployment tool for your solution. You publish a solution up in AppSource. Customer says, "Hey, I want to get a trial of this." AppSource just provisions your solution into that customer's tenant, and AppSource is done.
Yeah.
A couple of things to think about there. So obviously, if they unpublish your app or it gets purged, they're not going back and taking it away from where it was previously provisioned. It'll just no longer be available for future provisioning. So anybody that had it before will still have it.
Yeah.
Something to think about there, though, is they're literally pushing your application directly into a customer's tenant and saying, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
If you decided you're going to have a 10-day trial or a 7-day trial, or no, Microsoft don't give a fuck. And there's nothing in AppSource that does anything about that trial expiration. That is completely on you and your IP. So if you're going to put in a 10-day trial, you need to build in your own time bomb in your own application to do something in 10 days. Otherwise, you just are giving away your app for free. And I think some partners didn't realize that. Now, we know from talking to Googs and others on the team, there are some plans for Microsoft to bring some more things to AppSource to help us around licensing, potentially commerce, and some of those things. But they're not there yet. So today, another reason to provision through AppSource is a new product called ISV Studio. Which you can get to going to, I don't know, I think it's ispstudio.powerapps. Just search for ISP Studio. If you are provisioning through AppSource as opposed to side loading, then everything that gets provisioned through AppSource is visible to ISV Studio. And ISV Studio can provide you with lots of information about what's going on with apps, how many organizations have it, whether or not the installation failed, which versions failed, lots of information about your ISV solution that you won't get from side loading. And we've all been told, the rumor mill is that, I think Googs even said it on one or both of the times we talked to them, that, at some point side loading is going away. Right now, side loaded apps are still subject to the 10% revenue share, but it's kind of a self-report because Microsoft doesn't know about it. But when they go through AppSource, they don't need to worry about self-reporting because they know exactly what you got out there to go say, hey, you owe us 10% for this. So it's in Microsoft's best interest to, force all solutions to go through AppSource because then they know. And there's challenges with that. We know with people with DevOps on customizations for customers and things like that. But when it's specifically around IP, I think that door is going to close. So anybody who's thinking about AppSource, it's funny. It's like when they launched the rev share, we had all these partners say, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to participate. It was not it was not an optional program. This is compulsive. It's compulsive. You have no choice. And a lot of eyes opening, remember? And I think we're going to see the same thing when they get to the point to where they block side loading and telling people now that, look, you need to go down this AppSource path, understand how it works and get your stuff in there. And they're going to be saying, nah, I don't need AppSource. I'm going to skip AppSource. Okay, well, all of a sudden day's going to come and you won't be able to install your damn solution at all. So it's all these people keep their head in the sand. It won't impact me. It won't affect me.
So I got blind carbon copied on an email to Microsoft this week from another global ISV. And they had 3 sandbox instances deprovisioned like that was full of IP that they're working on, because the whole partner ISV, their internal user rights and stuff, that has been caught in a switchover phase, and they just disappeared, man. They're gone. They're shitting themselves trying to get it back and panicking that the IP that, which has been the last few dev cycles, gone. Can't get it.
Well, I guess that's a good excuse for having good backup.
100%. 100%.
I'd say their DevOps pipeline was missing a step or two. Wow, that would be painful.
Oh man, it's painful. And it is a good reminder of the need to back up, but also that obviously ISVs that have been on a competency type thing and had internal user rights associated with it, I don't think the switchover is happening in a smooth, friction-free way by what I'm hearing there.
Are you talking specifically about the ISV competency?
Yeah. So the credits that they'd had from that, it's come to the end, and they're like, what to?
So what they have done is, because we had that, and we were a gold ISP, and I was very excited about that. And shortly after we became a gold ISP, they said, you know what? We've been looking at this, and we're thinking that we really shouldn't have a competency for ISPs. It doesn't make any sense. Well, I thought it did, but apparently they weren't seeing that. I think I remember them saying something about the gives and gets were out of sync. They were given a lot. And to be honest, they gave us way more than we could even possibly consume. We just didn't need everything. They were giving us $1,000 a month Azure credits, and they were giving us a ton of stuff. Or I know that was for silver. I think for us, we were getting like $2,000 a month as gold of Azure. I mean, we just didn't need all that. So I would have preferred to see them rework the benefits instead, but instead they said, we're going to deprecate and retire this program.
And that's got nothing to do with the Biz App team, right? That has got to do with Microsoft's corporate MPN program.
No, that competency was part of BAG. It was specifically around Dynamics, even though it was just called ISP Competency. All the benefits were pretty much BAG related.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It definitely was something that came out of Business Applications Group, and they're the ones that killed it. Googs was part of that decision, although he said it was kind of already dying when he came in. It definitely was part of BAG. Well, what they've done, and I don't know if this was available just in the US or elsewhere, they made an offer to those partners that had the ISV competency, whether you were silver or gold, to transition you and waive all the requirements to application development competency for 1 year.
Okay.
So we just did that last week. So we are no longer a gold ISV because that doesn't exist, but we're now a gold application developer.
Okay.
And we were able to basically, they just did a manual override for everybody that had that competency. They did a manual override in there where if you go into your competency area, you go look at app development competency to start that one, you'll see that if you were silver, the silver requirements have been waived. If you were gold, the gold requirements have been waived, and you can just click and get that. Now you have to pay the fee. Right. Still got to pay the competency fee, but so now we are a gold application developer instead of gold ISV.
Okay.
And again, they said this is a 1 year.
And so what's the requirements to maintain gold application developer?
I didn't even look, but I think it had, I think for gold, you needed 4 individuals certified. So it's significantly less than Dynamics customer engagement.
Are they more Azure-based certifications or what?
Probably, again, I didn't really even look in detail. I just said, oh boy, click the button and ran. But I figured I got a year to worry about that. But it's application development. This one is definitely not a Dynamics specific competency. It's one they had. I think that when they took this one away, they thought, all right, we need to do something for these folks. So what's the closest thing we can do without creating something new? And they just said, here, we'll give them the app development. It may not have anything to do with Dynamics or CDS at all, for all I know. And we'll find out when we have to go try and renew on it. Or maybe they bought a year so they could figure out what they want to do. Maybe they come back with a new ISV competency that's reworked in the meantime. I'm not sure.
What happened? Like I had a question the other day about ISV embed. Is that still available? Can you still get on it? I heard for a while it was going away. They were killing it off. And then even in the podcast I had with Googs, it didn't seem like it was necessarily going away anymore. Where is it in your mind?
It's pretty specific. It was launched as a OEM SKU. It was not launched as a, it definitely wasn't launched as a discount SKU to go sell to people to do whatever they want. It was offered as, if you built a solution on top of a particular SKU, enterprise sales or Power Platform or whatever, and you are going to sell, and you want to sell your IP bundled with our license, right? So it's specifically around a bundled motion, right? You're going to buy my IP, which includes this license. Then we're going to discount that SKU for you. Your cost as a partner will be significantly less. And it kind of varies depending on some factors, but it's a pretty deep discount. The caveats around that, which made it a little challenging and still exist, are that, let's say, for example, our Rapid Start, which sits on top of the PowerApps P2, or did up until now. I was able to sell that P2 SKU at a retail price of $20 instead of $40. theoretically, then I stick my Rapid Start IP in there, and well, we were going to market at $40, which is what the PowerApps SKU costs without our IP at all.
Yeah.
So it's almost, to the customer, it appeared as though our IP came for free.
Free. Mm-hmm.
But that particular PowerApps P2 SKU that I sold them through Embed was not to be used for any other purpose.
Correct.
It was not a legitimate P2 SKU that you could just, oh, I've got this P2 with Rapid Start, I'm going to go build a bunch of other shit with it. Not allowed to do that. It was locked to only, you can only use this with our solution. So I'm sure those conditions are still in place.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have moved us from that P2 SKU to the per app SKU, which actually solves some of those problems, because a per app SKU is already designed to be tied to a single app.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't really use the per app passes with multiple apps. They'd have to buy more passes. So it solves everything, at least for PowerApps standpoint of them using that license to do other things. They can really only use it with a single app. So far as what they want to do with that program, I think they definitely have bounced around. There was obviously some conflict with the rev share. How does that work? You know, we're giving you a discounted license, and you know, so that there's some funkiness there. There was a time where they
Can you still do it? Is it still viable, or have you heard that it's been knocked on the head?
I haven't heard that it's been knocked on the head. I have heard that they, at one time, and that may have changed, they did not want to grow that hill any higher because eventually they were going to have to address it.
Yep.
However, it was still an active program, so they didn't kill the program, but there was a desire to not grow the hill. So I think what they did is they just stopped answering the phone. They made it very difficult. They made it almost impossible to get this SKU. I mean, yeah, it's still out there, and you can call a number or send an email, but you may not hear from anybody. And it'd be very persistent, I think, to maybe get it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where that is today. I haven't had a need to look and see where it is today. You know, when we drop down on that $10 per app pass, which our Rapid Start now runs on that,
Mm-hmm.
my margin on that is only like $2.50 through ISV Embed.
Yep.
It's not, and you know, when you sell licenses along with your IP, you've now got a responsibility for managing those licenses for that customer, right? They've got their adds and deletes, and they're calling you and making changes and stuff like that. So you got to manage all that. And when we were selling the $40 license for $20, you know, at $20 a user, it was worth managing that.
Yeah.
At $2.50 a user, it's not worth the overhead to manage it. And, you know, Googs has said in the past that he doesn't understand why ISVs want to sell Microsoft licenses anyway.
Yeah. Diminishing returns, right?
Yeah. So I think he's got his wish. We're just kind of like, well, you know what? It's not worth the effort. Bring your own license. You know, go buy them. It's not even worth my time to sell you that license. I could, but then you're going to call me next week and want to add one, and I already lost all my money. You know, so.
Check out what Frank is asking you there in the comments. Just a couple of things. I don't know whether you're aware of in the community. That is that Megan Walker, out of the UK, who's invested a lot in the last year around Forms Pro, and really making Forms Pro a phenomenal thing. Is she's come out with formal training courses on that. So Megan V. Walker, a good one to look up. It's interesting. And when I was talking to somebody from Virgin Atlantic, they were saying Forms Pro is totally transforming their business, because so many things that happen in a business is just around form capture data. You don't need a dedicated portal for it, right? A Forms Pro for internal use, particularly, incredibly powerful from the authentication and the ability to capture data on, iPads, whatever, without having to create a big app footprint. So I think.
Are we moving off the ISV conversation?
No, I'm letting you go back. I'm just filling while you're reading Frank's comments below. And then the other one I wanted to do a shout out to, because I'll let you jump back on Frank's questions there, is as Guido, another MVP out of Italy, an Italian guy who's he's got an email newsletter, and it's called the Dynamics Weekly, and some really great content. Like if you're not a social media type person, He basically only takes the best of the best, the creme de la creme of what's come out in the last week and puts it in a nice formatted email in your inbox. Dynamics Weekly, it's called. Well worth taking a look at that. Because, man, I just find it hits my inbox on Monday and I get this nice distilled view of what happened in the previous week that he's producing. So, yeah, can't.
He's out there curating it for you. And I think for
exactly.
people that are getting sick of listening to you and me and are looking for more sources, he's a good one to go find some more good sources of information. You know, Megan, very smart. And it's a, when you talk about how to become an MVP, you know, that's a textbook move to either become or retain MVP, is to find something.
Find a niche.
Find a niche, plant a flag, know everything, learn everything you can learn about it. She did it with Forms Pro.
Yep.
She saw, here's this app. It's got a lot of potential. There's a lot of confusion out there. And she planted a flag on that Forms Pro and said, you know what, I'm going to become known as the person who knows Forms Pro. And she succeeded in that goal.
Yep.
And I think that there's opportunities with Microsoft on a regular basis when they're popping off new stuff out there.
Power Virtual Agent, right? Nobody's known as the guru of Power Virtual Agent. No one's known as the guru of Dynamics 365 Customer Insights. No one's.
I'll tell you what, though, Matt Whitteman is obviously putting a flag there. If you've been reading Matt's stuff, he's gone pretty deep on Customer Insights, so he's planting a flag there. And you see,
smart move,
we got Jerry Weinstock planted his flag on Flow, along with Eliza Benitez is really kind of planted a flag, and you see these partners or these MVPs in particular that are like, I need a spot to own, and they just kind of plant that flag. You know, Guido has another site also where he curates Power Components. I think that's his.
Yeah, the PCF App Gallery or something great he's got.
Yeah, PCF Gallery or something. There's some pretty neat stuff in there. I mean, a lot of it's open source, right? You take your chances, but especially if you want to learn Power Components, lots of tools in there, lots of things that you know you can either use or use as examples of things to build. So a couple of Frank's questions here.
Even proof of concepts around visualizing an idea as a PCF, what that you know, it can jog your kind of thinking around what could be done.
Yeah, it seems to become the kind of the de facto source for that. And even Microsoft had talked about maybe needing to do that, but have kind of looked at what he's doing and said, you know what, he's got that base covered for now. We'll just let it ride.
Yep.
So it's probably the best source at the moment. And if you were sitting there thinking about, I got an idea for a control, the first thing I'd do is go look there and make sure somebody else hasn't already done it. You know, because nothing more frustrating than building something, thinking you got a great idea, and then go realize, oh, there's already 4 of them up there, and you see replicated solutions up there already.
Yeah, PC. There you go. I just put it in the chat. It's PCF.gallery.
Yeah,
nice.
There you go. And he's Italian, but he's not in Italy.
No, he's in China. His wife's Chinese.
Yeah. So
and I mean, he flits between. He's got a home and stuff in Tuscany area, from memory, in Italy.
So Frank's asking about the AppSource logo. What type of motorcycle do you ride? I don't. I've been contemplating getting another one. When I was married, my wife said no. Now that I'm not married, I'm strongly contemplating getting one. So we'll see. And how can side load go away? How can an organization build their own apps? That is one of the technical things that Microsoft needs to sort out before they can pull that switch.
It's not a hard thing to sort, right? All you need to do is thumbprint a ISV solution, you create a hash algorithm, and you got it.
Yep. I'm sure they'll be able to do that. It looks like Frank got the same override to be able to switch over to application developer competency, and now you know why. And will I be a biz app competency in the future? I don't need to. I mean, frankly, I'm a Microsoft Gold competency partner. That's enough that I can make that claim. I don't need to be gold in multiple things for any reason. There's a lot of effort to go get that biz apps competency, and so the other reason you might do it would be for the benefits. But frankly, you've got all the benefits I need from this competency, so there's really not anything that I'm missing. So no, I probably won't pursue it. I don't see a need at this time, but again, we'll see what happens to this competency later.
You're telling me recently you've been working on around IP protection in apps and doing research and stuff around that. And, you know, I've seen a bit of chatter recently on some tweets and stuff, people, or some back channels, particularly around IP protection. What are you finding in
that's going to be a challenge? And you know, Microsoft could potentially help with some of that, and some of that's just the nature of it. I published a post this morning, kind of high level, on some of the thoughts of some things that I was seeing and running into. But, you know, we're looking at our IP that we've got out there and IP that's in development, and trying to think about protection schemes that aren't going to be onerous, that are going to be, you know, worth the effort. And I think that for every scheme you can come up with, it seems like there's an XRM toolbox tool, or there's a web browser add-in that can defeat the darn thing. So I think this is another area where I think a lot of ISVs are blind to the reality. And I think that there's this sense that, well, I'm just going to package up my solution as managed, and if it's managed, I'm good. And that, yeah, nothing farther from the truth. I mean, I can remember not that long ago, ISVs saying, well, we'll have to have our team install our managed solution because, you know, we can't give you a copy of our managed, we have to install it. Okay, knock yourself out. Well, I can jump in XRM Toolbox and just convert it to unmanaged and download it to my desktop in 30 seconds.
Yep.
So
I tell you what, for years it's been available. I remember taking over projects of ISVs, or sorry, SIs that had gone out of business, and you'd go, where are the DLLs for this, you know, plugin and things like that? And I'm like, DLLs, what are they? You know, the customer would be like, no idea. Honestly, took no problem at all, reverse engineer that, extract out, recompile, rebuild, away you went, and you had recovered what had disappeared.
Yeah, the Malloretti's asking about the ISP competencies on hold. No, it's not on hold, it's gone. They got rid of it. But yeah, there's another tool in there in Toolbox where you can basically just go download all the DLLs that are in an instance. And this is not just managed, unmanaged. I mean, this is anything in there. This is Microsoft stuff. I mean, I can go download the Microsoft solution checker managed solution as an unmanaged solution on my desktop if I wanted to, for some reasons. I mean, this is just, it's kind of Wild West. I think that and you know, certainly control PowerApp or Power Components. I mean, those are all client side, right? I mean, I can scrape that freaking browser. Yeah. So it's when you're trying to think about, I've got some valuable IP, I've got some proprietary knowledge. Yeah. How to protect it? I mean, how you protect it? And a couple of the things that are out there, you know, there's code obfuscation. Yep. It won't pass app source check. It won't pass app source, but if you've got a relationship with the app source team, they will work with you to. We're gonna certify an unobfuscated version, but we'll publish the obfuscated version for you. So obfuscation is still an available option in app source, but you know, obfuscation is not perfect either, right? Things can be unobfuscated. It's another barrier. Plugins, you know, go right back to DLLs, right? I could suck the DLLs right out of an instance and decompile that. So probably the best solution is that there is something that your app needs that you can host externally yourself in a way that you can identify by customer. Yep. So that you can, you know, on your side, sitting in Azure, you can go ahead and say, I want to turn off this service for this customer because they're not paying the bill or whatever. Yep. And your IP won't run without whatever that piece is. Yeah. And you know, there's lots of solutions out there that would struggle to even figure out what that piece could be, to even come up with something that they have to reach out for. There's a lot of schemes out there with partners that have built licensing mechanisms, and of course now you go to a customer Tenant who's got 5 different ISV solutions, and they got 5 different licensing mechanisms all banging into each other in there also, and even not all those are working. So it's a challenge, and like part of it, Microsoft,
the lighter the footprint that you can have in the customer's tenant, the better in a way with your solution, and have more of the heavy lifting, etc. in Azure with that dependency is better, right?
Depending on what you're building, if you even have, if what you're building, that's even a possibility, there's things out there that wouldn't even be a possibility. And now, of course, you've switched some expense, right? You took some of the stuff that was going to run on that customer's tenant, utilizing their API calls, utilizing their consumption, you put onto, you're picking up the bill for it now. So, you know, I'm almost of the mind that you want to have a lighter footprint on your Azure, but a critical toe.
Yes.
You know, none of my shit will work in your tenant without this little piece that I've got over here that's not costing me a lot to maintain over here, but you need it. You know, so the way we've approached it, I was just gonna say, the way we've approached is we looked at all the different licensing models, even spent a lot of energy on some of them, and I ultimately decided that the best thing for me is just to know, right? So we built a licensing solution baked into our stuff that all it really does is it pings back to us periodically the number of people that are using our security role.
Yep.
This is not foolproof. I mean, someone can go in and copy my security role and give it another name. I mean, there's ways around these things, but when you look at, most of the customers are honest.
Exactly.
Most of them want to pay the bill. You could spend an awful lot of money trying to protect against that small fraction that's just going to try and rip you off, or that ISV or offshore company is going to go try and knock off your IP and throw it up into AppSource. At least Microsoft has said, hey, if you see that, let us know. We'll take it down. Yeah. And then it boils down to marketing. You know, I mean, your best IP protection is your brand and reputation.
Exactly.
You know, that's what people are wanting to buy, and that's what people have heard about, and that's what people trust. And they'll buy that over some knockoff that they never heard of. Yeah. So that's my soapbox on IP protection.
So one of the things that I've been looking at is around the 4 different ways that you can deploy on AppSource. So you've got email inquiry, you've got a free trial, you've got a time bomb trial, and then you've got test drive.
I think you've added one, because the free trial or time box trial are the same motion. You just put in what the time box you want it to be, whether it's unlimited or 2 weeks or a month or something, right?
I thought there was 4. Actually, let me just look it up. I thought there were 4 distinct. But anyhow, what I want to understand from you is your experience with test drive.
So I think another one you're talking about, it's not free trial, it's just free app.
Sorry, that's what I mean. Free app, not a free
app. That's what it is. What I'm looking for. And the contact us was originally not available, and I still don't think it is available for customer engagement apps.
It's not, and here's the little clincher or kick in the ass. They don't gray that out when you've already specified that it is for that. So we're just like, let's get up there. Let's just go for that. And of course, it goes through certification. They come back and go, oh, here's a big email saying why you can't do it. And I'm just like, well, why don't you fucking turn that off in the portal, just using an if-then rule, so that we don't have fucking an email backwards and forwards and fail on something that's irrelevant. So
they just
those are the little things that they can improve on, right? And do the job better.
And they just rebuilt all of that, right? Because it used to run through cloud partner. Yeah. See cloud partner portal. Something so like that. Publishing on AppSource used to be in a completely different place. They moved it over to Partner Center, where they're trying to move lots of stuff over to Partner Center, and in the process, kind of redesigned. It's much better than it was. Believe me, you missed the really.
I'm happy about
challenging times with the way it was before, but yeah, I'm sure that there definitely is still areas where they could tweak and improve. You know, on the test drive, I don't know. They used to have 2 ways to do that. Also, you could do what was called. Well, originally there was only one way, right? You had to use Azure Logic Apps for provisioning and deprovisioning users onto your own tenant, which you control where the test drive ran.
So let me just get this right. So if I was going to set up test drive, I need to set up another Dynamics tenant, which ultimately I might scale by putting a shit ton of sandboxes in there. Is that right? that can become, if you want to have 5
No,
customers come at once and hit a trial all in the same half-hour slot, as an example, do I
So
need to
what-
scale it with sandboxes?
So you would create a production instance
Yep,
in your environment.
yep,
And then you install all your solutions on that production instance,
correct.
right? And that becomes the target for your test drives. That's where people are going to test drive. They're not going to be test driving on Microsoft's hardware. They're going to be test driving on your box that you have here, which is some interesting caveats around that also.
Hang on a second. What do you mean your box? You're still talking about 365 online, right?
Yeah. Well, I meant your virtual,
Gotcha.
your instance.
Yeah.
Microsoft is
You're
not
buying that. You're paying for that instance.
Yep, you're paying for that instance. You have to have enough licenses. They can be IUR, they don't have to be paid license, but you have to have enough licenses, because what'll happen is, and they used to use a Logic app for this. Now they've moved it over to partner hosted, where they kind of handle that. But when a customer says, I want to do a test drive of this app, it will provision their user onto your tenant.
Gotcha.
With a security role that you give it.
Yep.
And also for an amount of time that you determine. You could say, I want to let people do a 2-hour test drive.
Yep.
So when that's set up for all that stuff, you'll be asked, how long do you want the test drive? What security role do you want to give them?
Yep.
And this is something to think about too, because if you give them your normal security role you created for a user of your solution, they'll have all the rights of that user, which means they start fucking with it.
Yeah.
This is your solution. So suddenly you come back and the thing's full of a bunch of data or junk or garbage. So you want to create a test drive security role that doesn't have any create privileges. They can go look, they can go do stuff.
I thought you could rejig the tenant. So you could basically, once again, using Logic apps, go and transfer your sandbox at the end of the hour, whatever you've time boxed it for, and just refresh it so it's clean.
You could probably potentially do that, but you got to remember, you don't know when people are coming. And you don't want to have a single test drive, right? You want to be able to allow for multiple, well, depending on how much you're going to scale.
Yeah.
If you said, you know what, I only want to have one person at a time do a test drive for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Somebody signed up for a test drive, boom, they're provisioned in for 2 hours, they kind of own that tenant.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Another person comes, another person comes in 10 minutes later and says, I want to do a test drive. Oh, well, you've got a 2-hour wait.
No, why wouldn't you create some logic around directing them to another instance? So you have 3 instances, 5 instances, whatever. And so that means in that time block, you can have up to 5 active trials in play simultaneously.
So first of all, they're not trials. These have to be full production instances.
Totally. Forget about the licensing of it. Like if money's not the object here, the action is the experience.
That would require Microsoft making a change to how they have configured the test drive, because right now you put in a single instance URL that will be the target for that test drive user. They don't give you the option to put in like an array.
Oh, you don't?
No, you just get one. They're going to go to this. This is the tenant that you're going to use for your test drive, and that's where they'll go. Okay,
we'll start with the one then, and we'll see, because I definitely want a scalable model.
Well, the scale is, again, and I do understand, knowing the solution you're talking about, how it would be a little difficult for them to get a good experience if they couldn't create. And that does present some challenges when people can't create. So probably a thing that maybe you would need to do, which you could just do in the same instance, have some sort of a workflow running every period that just deletes all the newly created records.
Yeah, and that's what we're thinking. Like a cleanup routine.
Yeah, cleanup routine. And the worst case is if you've got so you can do simultaneous test drives, right? So you decide how many. You could say, I want 5 simultaneous test drives to be able to be done. Well, you got to have at least 5 available licenses.
Yep.
But I mean, you could say, I want to allow 20. I mean, it depends on how many people are wanting to do it.
Yeah.
But now you've got potentially 20 people, mucking around.
Yep.
In that tenant. So you're probably still going to want to have some sort of a security role with some kind of limits on it.
Yeah. We definitely will. There's other things that we wouldn't want people to be able to do in that Yeah, could create some broadcasting issues. Okay, so that's awesome. I think we're wrapping up close to time-wise. Now, you've told me you were coming to Barcelona, then you weren't coming to Barcelona. I know that, I've been working with Tanya. I think we've got a full ISV day now. That's 9 dedicated sessions for ISVs in Barcelona. We've got some amazing names. I mean, I was, talking with Peter Linke last night, and he's with, what's his company?
PowerApps.
Yeah. So, very
guy.
big in the project management side of things with Microsoft. Looks like he's very keen to come on as a speaker. I've got some other top, CEOs of companies. But then you tell me, oh, man, my daughter's getting married. I'm not coming. I'm not going to be your wingman. We're not going to, do stuff. And you kind of let me down.
Well, what happened is apparently I don't know how to read a fucking calendar.
Old age then. That's what happened.
Yeah, old age kicked in and I didn't know how to read a calendar. So for some reason or another, because, right after Barcelona, you and I are flying all the way to Seattle immediately for MVP Summit. And for some reason or other, I had it in my mind that her wedding was that weekend between.
Gotcha.
And, it's going to be, she's getting married in Hawaii. So that was going to be like a 36-hour flight if I left Barcelona early to get that. I just decided I had no way I could do that. So that's when I told you I wasn't going to be able to make it, told everybody, sorry, I can't be there. And then my daughter pointed out that, no, Dad, it's the next Saturday.
Gotcha.
So, okay. So now I'm back on for Barcelona. Instead, I'll be flying from Seattle after Summit straight to Hawaii. Instead of in the middle of that, it's at the end of that. So ignore everything I said before. I'll be in Barcelona after all. We'll be doing our live show again, I'm sure, from Barcelona. Similar to what we did at UG Summit and MBAS. We'll be doing it at that same thing because, frankly, we don't have enough to do between the time we get up and the time we go drink.
Yeah.
So that keeps both of us occupied for the day.
Massively.
Yep, looking forward to that. And, each time we've done that, we've gotten more and more people speaking. And now we've gotten to the point where we actually have Microsoft people asking if they can get on the show, which is a pivot from us originally begging them to come.
Yep.
Now they're asking if they can possibly get on. So that's good. It's good. I'm enjoying the fact that people are enjoying that show.
Yeah.
I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I know you are as well.
Exactly.
Got your rig down to almost where you can fit it in your pocket. Getting very efficient.
Yeah.
So the next thing for us will be, please tell your friends, everyone, and if you haven't subscribed to this, please get some people to subscribe because we're like 150 subscribers away from a magic number that would allow us to actually walk around and live stream mobile at an event instead of having to have everything set up in chairs and things like that. And that will be a lot of fun too.
So we need 1,000 subscribers to do that. My goal this year and setting out on this journey was to get 1,000 by the end of the year. And that was starting from less than 100. We're at 850 as of last time I checked this morning. So we've got 150 to go to hit that magic 1,000 marker point, which will open up our ability to stream a mobile walk around, as you say. Which is something.
So feel free to log in to your mom's account and subscribe. Log into anything you can.
I only want people that are in our wheelhouse. I mean, I could go out and buy 1,000 subscribers, this afternoon, but I don't want.
Fuck? Why didn't we do that?
I want legit people. I only want the audience. It's the audience on this channel. Just speaking on that, I know we've got 1 minute to go. I've got a lot of flack over a couple of my how to become an MVP posts in recent weeks, even some counter YouTube videos against it. And I love it, man, because guess what? It just drives up our subscribers. Everyone's going, what smack are they talking about on Mark's videos? I go, watch it and subscribe. And I'm like, thank you very much. As they say, all news is good news, right? It's ultimately, there's no such thing as bad news.
We just need to start publicly bitch slapping each other because then people want to go see what we're bitch slapping about.
Yeah, but like, yesterday Gus Gonzalez released a video around a counter to my Magic 27. His video is a fantastic video. If anyone thinks he's got a problem with me, he actually let me watch it before he put that live and said, is it okay? I was fully, I was like, yeah, man, that is awesome. Like the beauty is that what this medium allows for is discussion rather than a single person's point of view. I give my opinion, but man, I'm always open to alternate opinions and also ways of looking at it. And I think Gus had a very good point. Don't look for minimums to do. What's the maximum you can do? Like, what's the biggest value you can bring, rather than looking for shortcuts to get around this. So go check out Gus's video. Well worth a listen. I fully agree with what he had said in that. And
MS Dynamics World on Monday.
MS Dynamics World for the announcement. We are live. I can stop being all cloak and dagger and hidey shit and tell what's going on.
And we'll be back next week.
We'll be back next week. And with that, ciao, folks. Send your questions. Remember, WhatsApp, you can get us. It's bit.ly/PowerUp Live questions, all lowercase. Hit us with your questions.